Leo Maxwell was a boy built on blueprints and facts. If you asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he wouldn't say an astronaut or a dragon tamer. He'd say a structural engineer, and then explain in meticulous detail the tensile strength of various metals. Imagination, in Leo's world, was a messy, unreliable thing. It didn't build anything. This very practicality was causing him trouble in art class. Mrs. Periwinkle, a whirlwind of paint splatters and encouraging smiles, wanted him to express himself. Leo, however, couldn't express anything beyond a perfectly rendered, geometrically accurate cube. Today's assignment was particularly frustrating. Draw your dream. He stared at the blank paper, a furrow deepening between his eyebrows. Dreams were illogical.
Leo, dear, a little color.
Mrs. Periwinkle chirped, hovering nearby. I'm thinking, Leo mumbled, sketching another precise angle.
Dreams aren't quantifiable.
Mrs. Periwinkle sighed gently. Sometimes, Leo, the best things in life aren't. Escaping art class was a relief. Leo usually took the main road home, but today, wanting to avoid a group of boisterous fifth graders, he decided to cut through Old Man Hemlock's overgrown garden. It was a shortcut, but a rather wild one. He squeezed between a towering hedge and a crumbling brick wall, pushing aside branches heavy with leaves. And then he stumbled. Not over a root, but through something. It felt like walking through a curtain of shimmering air. One moment he was in a dusty garden, the next, he wasn't. He found himself in a bustling, though oddly hazy workshop. Gears whirred, bubbles floated, and strange contraptions beeped and whizzed. But the most peculiar thing wasn't the machinery, it was the people, or rather, they things. A large, fluffy bear wearing a chef's hat was frantically stirring a pot of bubbling purple goo. A woman doing a handstand, her legs waving in the air, seemed to be practicing some sort of acrobatic routine, but she was flickering.
Like a badly tuned television.
Well now, a voice said, startling him. Leo turned to see a woman standing before him, radiating a gentle, regal air. She wore a dress that shimmered like moonlight and had a crown of woven flowers perched atop her head. You weren't expected.
Wer am I?
Leo stammered, his practical mind struggling to process what he was seeing. This, my dear boy, is the headquarters of the Invisible Friend Agency, the woman said with a warm smile. And I am Celeste, its director. She wrung her hands, her expression clouding with worry. Though headquarters feels a bit grand these days, doesn't it? And director? Well, it's mostly just me keeping things from falling apart.
Leo blinked. Invisible Friend Agency? You mean, like, imaginary friends?
He scoffed, a sound that seemed to make the flickering dancer wobble even more. That's ridiculous.
Celestes smile faltert.
It used to be a thriving place, full of laughter and light. But fewer and fewer children believe these days. And when they stop believing, well, we fade. She gestured towards the bear chef, Grizzle, who was now looking distinctly less fluffy, and the dancer, Wanda, who was almost transparent. They're relying on dwindling memories. Leo stared at Celeste, then at Grizzle, then back at Celeste. He pinched himself hard. I can see them, he finally whispered, his voice laced with disbelief. I can actually see them. Celeste's face lit up, a hopeful glow returning to her eyes. Remarkable. Truly remarkable. It's been years. Years since a child could perceive us without the aid of a focusing stone. She clasped her hands together.
This is wonderful, Leo. Jure a beacon. A beacon.
Leo repeated, still reeling. I'm just a kid who took a wrong turn. No, Celeste insisted, waving her hand dismissively.
You're special.
The agency has been dwindling.
Children are forgetting how to dream, how to imagine.
When they do, we become less real. You can see us perfectly. It means there's still hope. But how? Leo asked, his mind racing. Imaginary friends aren't real. Oh, but they are, Leo, Celeste said softly. They're born from a child's heart, fueled by belief. We provide comfort, adventure, companionship. We help children navigate the world, conquer their fears. We are real, as long as someone believes. She paused, her expression becoming serious. Our purpose is to find those children, the ones who still have a spark of imagination, and reconnect with the friends they've forgotten. Leo crossed his arms, his skepticism hardening. This is a prank, right?
Some elaborate trick? Celeste seid. I assure you, Leo, this is no prank. Let me demonstrate.
She turned to Grizzle. Grizzle, my dear, would you mind? Grizzle, looking relieved to have a task, lumbered forward, presenting Leo with a slice of the bubbling purple pie.
Dreamberry pie, young man. Qua antet to give you the sweetest dreams. Leo eyed the pie with suspicion.
It looked like a pie. Smelled like a pie. He took a bite. It tastes like blueberry, he said flatly. Grizzle's form flickered, his paws becoming slightly transparent. But it's made with dreamberries. They are harvested from the land of Nod. It's just blueberry pie, Leo insisted, pushing the plate away. Celeste winced. Dreamberries lose their potency when doubted. She turned to Wanda. Perhaps a demonstration of artistry? Wanda, with a determined wobble, launched into her upside-down dance. She twirled and flipped, attempting a dazzling routine. But to Leo, it just looked like a woman awkwardly flailing around. She's not very good, he blurted out, unable to help himself. Wanda froze mid-flip, her form shimmering and fading rapidly. Her voice was barely a whisper. I used to be quite graceful. She was becoming almost entirely see-through.
Wanda.
Celeste cried, rushing to her side.
Leo, please.
Try to see the magic, the joy.
Imagine Herr Soaring trug the air, defying gravity.
Leo tried. He really did. He focused on Wanda, willing himself to see something beyond awkward movements. But his mind kept inserting logical explanations. Center of gravity, muscle strain, lack of practice. He just couldn't believe. I can't, he admitted, feeling a pang of guilt as Wanda faded further. It's just a woman doing a handstand. Celeste's shoulders slumped. It seems your practical nature is a formidable obstacle. She looked at Leo, her expression a mixture of hope and despair. But we must try.
The geht weh, it's fading fast. And without belief, without imagination, wie will all this appear?
Celeste led Leo through a labyrinth of corridors, past agents practicing forgotten talents. A miniature dragon attempting to breathe smoke, producing only a puff of glitter. A pirate captain trying to polish a tarnished telescope. The air grew colder, the colors less vibrant with each step. Finally, they arrived at a vast chamber. In the center stood a swirling vortex of light, shimmering with all the colors imaginable, yet looking fragile.
It pulsed weakly, like a doing heartbeat.
This, Celeste said, her voice hushed with reverence, is the gateway to dreams. Leo stared. It did look impressive in a sad sort of way. It's a light show, he said, stating the obvious. It's far more than that, Leo. It's the connection between our world and the imaginations of children. Every dream, every fantastical story, every whispered wish flows through this gateway, giving us life, giving us form. Celeste gestured to the swirling colors. See how dim it is, how weak. For decades, it has grown fainter and fainter. Children are losing their wonder, their ability to truly believe. Leo frowned. So it's like a power source? Precisely. And you, Leo, are the only one who can recharge it. Celeste turned to him, her eyes pleading. Your ability to see us is the key. Your belief, or perhaps your potential for belief, is the energy this gateway craves. Leo scoffed. Me? I told you, I'm a facts and figures kind of guy. I deal with what's real. But what if real is more than you think?
A raspy voice interrupted.
An elderly figure, barely visible, shuffled forward. He wore tarnished silver armor and carried a miniature sword. He was so faded, Leo almost didn't notice him. Barnaby, Celeste greeted, her voice softening.
This is Leo.
Barnaby bowed, a wobbly gesture.
A pleasure.
I think. Though I haven't felt much pleasure lately. He sighed, a sound like rustling leaves.
I remember a time, let, wen se geht we bläst wes light.
Children's imaginations were wild and free. Knights needed rescuing from fearsome dragons, princesses ruled kingdoms made of candy, and every shadow held a thrilling adventure. The gateway thrummed with power then. We were vibrant. He glanced at his own fading form. Now we're just echoes. So, you're saying if I just pretend harder, this thing will get brighter? Leo asked, struggling to keep the sarcasm from his voice. It's not about pretending, Leo, Celeste corrected gently. It's about allowing yourself to feel the wonder.
To let your imagination soar.
To embrace the possibilities. Look, I appreciate the sales pitch, but I still think this is all impossible. Leo paused, then a thought struck him. But, if I try to help, and it does work, then you're all just made up.
It proves nothing is real.
Celeste's expression flickered with something akin to disappointment, but she quickly recovered. If that's what you need to believe to help, Leo, then so be it. But I assure you, even if you think it's a trick, the consequences of the gateway closing are very real indeed. Fine, Leo conceded, crossing his arms. I'll play along. But don't expect miracles. As they spoke, back at school, Mr. Abernathy, Leo's art teacher, paused by his desk. Leo had been staring blankly at a still life of apples, refusing to even pick up a pencil. Leo, Mr. Abernathy said kindly, you're a bright student, but I haven't seen much enthusiasm in art class lately.
Is everything all right? Leo shrugged.
Just not really into drawing fruit, sir. Mr. Abernathy smiled. Art isn't just about copying what you see, Leo. It's about seeing what could be. Try to imagine the apples telling a story. Perhaps they're adventurers, or secret agents. Give them personalities.
Let your imagination run wild.
He placed a fresh sketchbook and a set of colored pencils on Leo's desk. Sometimes, a little bit of make-believe is all you need. Leo stared at the art supplies, a strange feeling stirring within him. He didn't understand it, but Mr. Abernathy's words, combined with the desperate hope in Celeste's eyes, planted a tiny seed of curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, there was something to this whole imagination thing after all. Celeste led Leo to a circular room filled with shimmering orbs, each pulsing with a soft inner light. In the center stood a peculiar contraption. A brass helmet connected to a network of glowing wires and lenses. It looked like something salvaged from a mad scientist's laboratory. This is the Memory Weaver, Celeste explained. It allows us to access echoes of the past, glimpses of the children who once believed in our agents. It won't make you believe, Leo, but it might help you understand. Leo eyed the device skeptically. You're going to put that on my head?
Sounds safe.
Perfectly safe. Though sometimes the memories can be emotionally resonant.
Celeste adjusted a dial on the machine.
Just relax, and let the weaver do its work. Hesitantly, Leo sat down and allowed Celeste to place the helmet on his head. A gentle warmth spread across his forehead, and then, darkness.
For a moment, Tiere was nothing.
Then, fragmented images began to flicker behind his closed eyelids. He found himself in a dimly lit bedroom. A small boy, no older than 6, was huddled under the covers, tears streaming down his face.
A large, looming shadow danced on the wall, taking the shape of a monstrous creature.
Leo felt the boy's fear as if it were his own. Then, a warm, comforting presence entered the room. It was Grizzle, the bear chef, but he wasn't the slightly faded figure Leo had met earlier. He was vibrant, solid, radiating a gentle warmth. Grizzle wasn't offering a pie, he was simply there, a furry guardian against the darkness. He began to tell a story, a silly tale about a mischievous honeybee and a grumpy badger, his voice a soothing rumble. Slowly, the boy's tears subsided, replaced by a small, shaky smile. The shadow on the wall seemed to shrink, losing its menace. The scene dissolved, replaced by another. This time, Leo was backstage at a school play. A young girl, dressed as a fairy, was trembling with fear, clutching her wings. She whispered, "I can't do it, I just can't." Then, Wanda the upside-down dancer appeared, twirling and leaping with effortless grace. She didn't offer advice or encouragement. She simply danced with the girl, mirroring her movements, playfully exaggerating her fears until they became comical. The girl started to giggle, her fear replaced by a newfound confidence. She straightened her wings and, with a deep breath, stepped onto the stage.
Image after image flooded Leo's mind. A lonely child building a magnificent castle with Barnaby the brave knight, a SY girl sharing secrets with Celeste, a boy learning to fly with a Mischievous Spritte.
Each memory was a testament to the power of imagination, the comfort of companionship, and the joy of believing. The images faded, and Leo slowly opened his eyes. He removed the helmet, feeling strangely disoriented. He looked at Celeste, then at Grizzle and Wanda, seeing them in a new light. They weren't just fantastical creations, they were sources of comfort, courage, and joy. "Well?" Celeste asked, her voice hopeful. "What did you see?" Leo hesitated. I saw kids. Happy kids. They weren't scared. They really believed." He paused, then added, almost reluctantly, "Grizzle." He wasn't trying to bake a pie. He was helping a kid who was afraid of the dark. Grizzle's form flickered, gaining a bit of solidity. He beamed at Leo.
Sometimes a warm story is better than a vampire let.
And Wanda? She helped a girl with her stage fright. She didn't just dance.
Schemade the girl lauk.
Wanda spun in a small circle, her movements regaining some of their fluidity.
A little silliness can conquer any fear, dearie.
Leo still wasn't fully convinced. He still clung to his need for facts and logic. But something had shifted within him. He felt a pang of sympathy for these fading creatures, a growing understanding of what they represented. "It's still hard to believe," he admitted, "but it's sad to see them like this."
Fading away.
Celeste smiled, a genuine, hopeful smile. "That's a start, Leo. That's a very good start." Celeste paced thoughtfully, her brow furrowed. The glimpses of memories, while impactful, hadn't quite sparked the full belief needed to revitalize the gateway. "The Weaver shows what was, Leo," she said, "but we need to create what will be. We need to generate new belief, new imagination." "So, more looking at old memories?" Leo asked, already feeling a sense of disappointment. "No," Celeste replied with a determined glint in her eyes. "We need you to do something. We need you to tell a story."
Leo blinked.
"A story?
Like, a made op one?
Exactly. Any story. It doesn't have to be grand or epic.
Just a story from you."
Leo shuffled his feet.
"I'm not much of a storyteller. I'm better with, facts.
Reports. Like, did you know a penguin can swim up to 22 miles per hour? Celeste smiled patiently. "That is a fascinating fact, Leo. But perhaps you could tell us about a penguin who does something a little more extraordinary?" Leo hesitated, then cleared his throat.
"Okay, fine.
There's this penguin. A very normal penguin. He lives in Antarctica. He eats fish.
Hey, Wadless."
The end. A wave of disappointment washed over the room. Grizzle, who had been eagerly anticipating a tale of adventure, slumped slightly, his form flickering. Wanda attempted a small, encouraging spin, but it lacked its usual zest. "See," Leo said, a touch of triumph in his voice. "It doesn't work. It's just a penguin." Grizzle waddled closer, a twinkle in his eye.
"Now, hold on a minute, let.
Every penguin has a secret dream. Perhaps this penguin dreams of opening a fish-flavored bakery. Or maybe he's a secret agent, tasked with protecting the Antarctic from rogue seals." Leo rolled his eyes. "A fish-flavored bakery? Really?" Wanda gracefully floated forward, her movements slow but deliberate. "It's not about being realistic, dearie. It's about being expressive."
Imagine the penguin.
"Does he have a favorite pebble?" Does he wear a tiny hat?
Let your hands tell the story. Like this.
She demonstrated, using fluid gestures to depict a penguin slipping and sliding on the ice, her movements surprisingly comical. Celeste nodded.
Wann das right.
Don't just tell us what the penguin does, show us how he feels. What does he think about? What are his worries? What makes him happy? Leo sighed. This was harder than he thought. He closed his eyes, trying to conjure something, anything, beyond the facts. Okay, this penguin, he's tired of just swimming and eating fish. He looks up at the moon, and he thinks he wants to go there. A faint glow emanated from the gateway. Grizzle straightened a little, and Wanda's spin gained a bit more momentum.
The moon.
Celeste prompted, her voice encouraging. What happens next? He tries to fly, but penguins can't fly. Leo said, then quickly added, but what if he built a rocket?
Out of ice?
Grizzle clapped his paws together.
Now you're talking.
A magnificent ice rocket, powered by frozen fish. Wanda twirled faster, her form becoming slightly more defined. And perhaps he needs a special spacesuit made of seaweed, and a helmet decorated with sparkling starfish. Leo found himself smiling, a genuine smile this time. He continued, hesitantly at first, then with growing enthusiasm. So, he builds this rocket, and it's really wobbly, and it's covered in icicles, and he blasts off. And he's heading towards the moon. But he meets a space whale who gives him a ride for the last bit. As Leo spoke, the gateway began to glow brighter. The agents around him were visibly strengthening, their forms becoming more solid, their colors more vibrant. A feeling he hadn't experienced before. A feeling of joy, of wonder, of pure imagination, bubbled up inside him. As Leo spoke, the gateway began to glow brighter. The agents around him were visibly strengthening, their forms becoming more solid, their colors more vibrant. A feeling he hadn't experienced before. A feeling of joy, of wonder, of pure imagination, bubbled up inside him. And the space whale, Leo continued, now completely lost in the tale, wasn't just any space whale. It was a rainbow whale. And it sang songs that made the stars twinkle. Grizzle was practically beaming, his fur regaining its plushness. Wanda was performing a dazzling aerial dance, her movements fluid and graceful. Even Celeste looked hopeful, a warm smile gracing her lips. Suddenly, a voice, raspy with age but filled with wisdom, spoke from the shadows.
A good storyteller knows the power of detail, let.
It's not enough to say the whales sang songs, you must tell us what those songs sounded like. It was Barnaby the brave knight, his form still faded but noticeably brighter than before. He stepped forward, leaning on his spectral lance. Did they echo like ancient prophecies? Did they bubble like a gentle stream? The ear, young Leo, is as important as the eye. Leo considered this, and a new wave of inspiration washed over him. The songs. They sounded like bubbles popping, but each bubble held a different memory.
Happy memories.
And when the whale sang, the penguin could see all those happy memories floating around him, like little lights. The gateway pulsed with light, and a tangible warmth filled the room. A faint outline began to shimmer near Leo's feet, a swirling mist taking form. Remarkable, Celeste breathed, her eyes fixed on the forming figure. The gateway is responding, and look. Leo looked down and gasped. A small, fluffy penguin, no bigger than his hand, was materializing before him. It had bright, curious eyes and a tiny, silver helmet perched on its head. He's real. Leo stammered, hardly daring to believe his eyes. He is, Celeste confirmed, her voice filled with wonder.
Born from your story, Leo.
A new friend, brought into being by your imagination. The little penguin waddled towards Leo and chirped happily, flapping its tiny wings. Greetings. I am Pip, the moon penguin.
Ready for adventure.
A chuckle escaped Leo's lips. He couldn't help but feel a surge of joy. Hi, Pip. Just then, a familiar face appeared in the doorway. It was Miss Periwinkle, Leo's art teacher. Leo dear, I was wondering if you'd had a chance to think about illustrating your penguin story. I've gathered some watercolors and paper for you. She held out a box filled with vibrant colors.
Leos eyes lit up.
He hadn't even considered drawing his story, but the idea now seemed incredibly appealing.
Really? You think I should?
Ms. Periwinkle smiled warmly. I know you should.
You have a wonderful imagination, Leo.
Don't be afraid to let it soar. The details you shared with me about the space whale and the rainbow songs were simply enchanting. Capture that magic on paper. Leo took the art supplies, his heart brimming with excitement. He looked at Pip, at Celeste, at Grizzle and Wanda, all now radiating with renewed energy. He looked at the glowing gateway and finally understood. It wasn't about facts or reports, it was about believing. It was about letting his imagination run wild. I think, Leo said, a confident smile spreading across his face, I think I'm going to draw the most amazing picture ever. The warmth of creation hadn't fully settled when a chilling breeze swept through the agency headquarters. The gateway, moments ago pulsating with vibrant light, flickered, its glow dimming. A shadowy figure detached itself from the corners of the room, coalescing into a lanky, unsettling imaginary friend with eyes like chipped obsidian. He wore a perpetually sneering expression. Well, well, the figure drawled, his voice a rasping whisper. So, the little fact finder has discovered the magic of make-believe.
Oh, predictable.
Celeste stepped forward, her regal bearing radiating defiance.
Mordecai, what do you want?
Mordecai, as Celeste named him, belonged to the Nightmare Collective, a group of imaginary friends who thrived on fear and doubt.
Just observing, princess.
Though I must say, this display is rather pathetic.
A penguin on the moon?
Honestly.
Children deserve nightmares, not Sacharine fluff.
He turned his gaze to Leo, his eyes boring into him.
You think this is real, don't you? This feeling?
It's fleeting.
A childish fancy. The real world is harsh, Leo. Full of disappointment.
Why bother creating illusions when reality will always let you down? Leo felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Mordecai's words, though cruel, resonated with a part of him, the part that still clung to logic and reason. He glanced at the gateway, now flickering erratically. Doubts began to creep in. Was he just fooling himself? Was this all a silly game? Pip, sensing Leo's distress, chirped loudly and hopped onto his shoulder, nudging his cheek with his tiny beak. Don't listen to him. Your story is amazing. The moon penguin needs to find a superpowered space carrot.
Mordecai scoffed.
The influence of a newly formed delusion.
Oh, charming.
He focused his attention back on Leo. Finish your story then. Go on. See if you can maintain this illusion. I wager your imagination will crumble under the weight of its own absurdity. Leo's hand trembled as he reached for his watercolors. He looked at Ms. Periwinkle's supplies, suddenly feeling overwhelmed. He glanced at Celeste, who offered a small, encouraging nod. Grizzle was attempting to block Mordecai's line of sight with a giant dreamberry pie, which wobbled precariously. Wanda was performing a dizzying dance, trying to distract the shadowy figure. I don't know if I can, Leo stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, you can, Celeste said firmly.
Remember the joy, Leo. Remember the children who need these dreams. Remember P.P.
Pip chirped again, flapping his wings excitedly. The space carrot gives the penguin super speed. He zooms past planets and collects stardust.
A small smile touched Leo's lips.
He dipped his brush into the blue paint and began to sketch. He didn't focus on perfection, didn't worry about realism. He simply let his imagination flow, guided by Pip's whimsical suggestions. And the penguin, Leo began, his voice gaining strength, used the superpowered space carrot to zoom past Jupiter, dodging asteroid fields and waving to friendly aliens. He discovered a hidden moon made entirely of chocolate, and shared it with all the lonely stars. As he spoke, the gateway began to respond, its light growing stronger with each fantastical detail. Mordecai recoiled, his form flickering as Leo's belief solidified.
No, this can't be happening.
Mordecai shrieked, clutching his head.
Imagination is weakness. Fear is power.
Celeste and the agents rallied around Leo, forming a protective circle. Your negativity has no place here, Mordecai, Celeste declared. This is a sanctuary of dreams, and we will defend it. Grizzle hurled the dreamberry pie at Mordecai. It splattered harmlessly through his shadowy form, while Wanda's dance became a whirlwind of vibrant energy, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. Leo continued his story, pouring every ounce of his newfound belief into it. And finally, the penguin landed on the moon, planted a flag made of rainbow sherbet, and declared it a place of joy and wonder for all. With those words, the gateway erupted in a blinding burst of light. A wave of pure, joyful energy washed over the agency, banishing Mordecai's shadow and restoring the gateway to its full glory. Mordecai let out a final, frustrated scream before dissolving into nothingness. The gateway now shone brighter than ever before, its swirling portal reaching out to connect with the imaginations of children across the world. Leo, exhausted but exhilarated, leaned back against his chair, a wide grin on his face. "We did it," he breathed, looking at Celeste and the agents. "You did it, Leo," Celeste replied, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "You reopened the gateway." The agency buzzed with a newfound energy.
The gateway shimmered, a constant flow of vibrant colors representing the dreams and imaginations of children all over the world.
Leo, no longer hesitant, walked confidently through the headquarters, a sketchbook tucked under his arm. It had been a few weeks since the encounter with Mordecai, and life had transformed.
"Morning, Leo."
Celeste greeted him with a warm smile. "It's wonderful to see you. We've had a record number of connections today."
"Children are dreaming bigger, bolder dreams."
Leo beamed. "It's amazing. I never knew imagination could be so powerful." He paused, glancing at Grizzle, who was now happily overseeing the creation of a giant dreamberry cake for a little girl who wished for a birthday feast on a cloud. "Grizzle's baking is legendary now," he added with a chuckle. "Indeed," Celeste agreed. "And Wanda's dance routines are inspiring children to embrace their own unique talents. Your victory over Mordecai resonated throughout the imaginary world, Leo. It reminded everyone what we're fighting for." "Speaking of inspiring," Celeste continued, leading Leo to a newly established corner of the agency, "we've been working on something.
Our matching system.
We're carefully pairing forgotten friends with children who could truly benefit from their companionship." A large, shimmering screen displayed profiles of imaginary friends. A shy dragon who needed a courageous companion, a tiny inventor seeking a curious mind, a singing starlet longing for an audience. "It's incredible," Leo breathed, scrolling through the profiles. "So, they won't be forgotten anymore?" "Not if we can help it," Celeste replied. "And you, Leo, have been a key inspiration for this. You've shown us that even the most skeptical heart can be opened to the magic of imagination." At school, Leo was a changed boy. His art class, once a source of frustration, was now his sanctuary. He filled his sketchbook with fantastical creatures, vibrant landscapes, and daring adventures. Miss Periwinkle, his art teacher, was astounded by his transformation. "Leo," she said one afternoon, admiring his latest drawing of Pip the moon penguin soaring through a galaxy of swirling colors, "your work is truly remarkable."
"You've found your voice, your passion. Never lose that."
Inspired by his experiences at the agency, Leo decided to start a story club at school. He nervously announced it during lunch, expecting a few curious glances, but was surprised when a small crowd gathered. "It's a place where we can share our stories, our ideas, our imaginations," he explained, his voice still a little shaky.
"No idea is too silly, no dream too big."
To his delight, children began to share their own fantastical tales. A boy who befriended a robot, a girl who could talk to animals, a group of friends who discovered a hidden portal to another world. The Story Club quickly became the most popular club in school, a haven for creativity and imagination. Back at the agency, Celeste approached Leo with a thoughtful expression. "We've noticed something remarkable, Leo. The gateway isn't just stable, it's expanding. More and more children are reaching out, their imaginations blossoming. It's as if your story, and the stories of the children in your story club, are creating a ripple effect.
Leo smilet, a genuine, heartfelt smile.
He was no longer the boy who couldn't imagine. He was a champion of imagination, a guardian of dreams, and a friend to all those who dared to believe. He looked at the gateway, now radiating with an even brighter, warmer light, and knew that his journey had just begun. He had a whole world of imagination to explore, and countless stories to tell.